The first part of Lecture 9 concerns oxidation states. Ionic compounds are formed between metals and nonmetals. Metals, due to their low ionization energy, will become cations and get smaller. Nonmetals, due to their high electronegativity, will become anions and get larger. Here is a chart demonstrating the change in size when neutral atoms become ions. As you can see, neutral lithium has a radius of 1.34 angstroms. When it loses an electron and becomes the lithium ion, the radius shrinks to 0.68 angstroms. On the other hand, neutral oxygen atoms have a radius of 0.73 angstroms. When they gain 2 electrons to become the oxide ion, the radius increases to 1.4 angstroms. And because opposite charges stick together, these cations and anions form an ionic compound. So if we think about the interaction that occurs between metals and nonmetals when they get together, metal valence electrons are far away from the nucleus. Nonmetals have empty slots in their valence orbitals that are close to the nucleus. So this electron, which is far away from the nucleus, notices it can get closer to the nucleus if it would just join with fluorine, and you get an ionic compound where we have sodium 1+, which is isoelectronic with a noble gas, and fluoride 1-, which is also isoelectronic with a noble gas. And this is because electrons prefer low energy orbitals. So oxidation states, also called oxidation numbers, are a way to track which atom owns the electrons. It works for ionic compounds, but also for molecular compounds. In general, a main group element's oxidation number can range from plus group number, when it is a cation, to group number -8, when it is an anion. And I'll give you an example. Nitrogen is group 5. Mathematically, its oxidation range can be from +5 to -3. It's easier if I show you in a periodic table. Here is nitrogen on the periodic table. It has 5 valence electrons, so it can lose up to all 5 valence electrons when we consider the oxidation state when it's in a compound, so it could be +5. It can also, within a compound, gain 3 electrons, 1, 2, 3, to become isoelectronic with neon. The oxidation state range gives us the positive to negative range an atom can typically have within a compound. Another example is chlorine. Chlorine is in group 7, so it can range from +7 to -1 in oxidation state. Here we see on the periodic table, chlorine can lose up to 7 electrons to become isoelectronic with neon, or gain 1 electron to become isoelectronic with argon. So I hope you have your periodic tables out and can answer, what is the oxidation state range of sulfur? What about transition elements? Well, in general, a transition element's oxidation number is usually +2. This is because if you consider removing electrons to make a cation, the s electrons are lost first from the valence band. So +2 would empty that s valence band. There are, of course, exceptions. +2 is a good value for iron, but it can also be +3. Copper is +2 sometimes, and in other compounds, +1. Silver and gold are usually +1. Mercury is a very strange dimer, where each mercury atom in the compound is +1. So oxidation numbers are an electron tracking tool, and the assumption we make in compounds is assign the bonding electrons to the atom with the highest electronegativity. So all bonds are treated as ionic. So there's a list of rules that I will now go over for you. And don't worry, you'll have access to these rules when you go to take your test. You're not expected to memorize them, but it does definitely help to understand where they came from. So rule 1, oxidation number of atoms in an elemental form is 0. So if you have a neutral iron atom, its oxidation state is 0. If you have the O2 molecule, each oxygen in this element has an oxidation state of 0. A good way to explain this would be to think about hydrogen, H2. If we look at the valence band, each hydrogen atom has one electron in orbitals that are at the same energy. So the electron is no more likely to be with one hydrogen versus the other, because there's no advantage when the orbitals are at the same energy. So H2 is another example where each hydrogen has an oxidation state of 0. Next rule. Fluorine is always assigned an oxidation number of -1. Let's look at fluorine in the periodic table. It is the most electronegative element. So when fluorine is within a compound with any other element, it's going to take that electron and have a -1 oxidation state. Now these rules have a priority. Rule 1 is more important than Rule 2. So for example, fluorine in the elemental form of F2 has oxidation state 0 for each fluorine. It's only when fluorine is in a compound with other elements that it has a -1 oxidation state. Rule 3. The oxidation number of group 1A metals is always +1. And the oxidation number of group 2A metals is always +2. And the oxidation number of aluminium in a compound is always +3. Looking at the periodic table, lithium through francium is the group 1A metals. It makes sense that these would be +1. Looking at the second column, beryllium through radium are the alkaline earth metals. So it's obvious that these would always have a +2 oxidation state in compounds. And aluminium is in column 3, so it would have a +3 oxidation state within compounds. The rest of these have some variability. And don't forget, the rules have a priority ranking. So rule 1 is more important than rules 2 or 3. So if you encounter aluminium by itself, in its elemental form, the oxidation state would be 0. Rule 4. Rule 4 deals with the unusual position of hydrogen. Now hydrogen, when bonded to itself as H2, well, that's oxidation state 0, because that falls under rule 1, hydrogen in the elemental form. But there's a difference when hydrogen is bonded to nonmetals versus metals. Keeping with the idea that electrons prefer low-energy orbitals, let's look at the valence band comparison of hydrogen with metals. Most metals have higher energy electrons than hydrogen has vacancies. So hydrogen will gain an electron when encountering metals to have an oxidation state of -1. On the other hand, hydrogen with nonmetals, typically, hydrogen has a higher energy electron than the vacancies in nonmetals. So hydrogen will lose an electron when encountering nonmetals. So the oxidation number of hydrogen when bonded to nonmetals is +1. When bonded to most metals is -1. And when bonded to itself is 0. Rule 5 deals with oxygen. The oxidation state of oxygen in compounds is -2. Why is that? Oxygen is the second most electronegative element on the periodic table. So when it encounters other elements, it is most likely to grab electrons from them and be isoelectronic with neon, giving it a -2 charge. This would be true for every element oxygen encounters except another oxygen, in which case its oxidation state 0, or fluorine, which has a higher ranking rule and would take electrons from oxygen. Rule 6 deals with column 7 elements, specifically the halogens. The oxidation number of halogens is -1. Now, of course, fluorine is a halogen and has a -1 charge. The other halogens are a little bit less electronegative, so this is why this is the lowest ranking rule. Chlorine, bromine, and iodine are still relatively electronegative, so in many compounds they will take an electron, just one, to get a -1 oxidation state and be isoelectronic with their nearest noble gas. Other elements in compounds take their cues from these rules. And of course, the rules must be applied in priority order. So let's try a couple examples. Assign the oxidation number to the underlined red atom, which would be chromium. Step 1. This is a neutral compound, so the sum of the total charges will be equal to 0. Rules 2 and 3. Assign oxidation numbers to the atoms with the rules and multiply the oxidation number by the subscript to get the total charge. So we know from Rule 6 that each bromine in the compound must be -1, and there are 3 of them. So the net oxidation state for all the bromines is -3. So our last step is to determine what has to go in the blank to make the algebra work, and obviously +3 would be our answer. So chromium's oxidation state in this compound is +3, and each bromine has a -1 oxidation state. Let's try some other examples. How about ammonia? This is a neutral compound, so the charges will all add up to 0. Nitrogen is a nonmetal. So Rule 4 tells us that when hydrogen is bonded to a nonmetal, each hydrogen has an oxidation state of +1. There are 3 of these hydrogens, so the net oxidation state for all 3 of them is +3. And of course, what goes in the blank? -3. So the nitrogen in this compound has a -3 oxidation state. How about a more challenging one, the dichromate ion? So this time, the sum of the oxidation states has to add up to -2. Perhaps you remember Rule 5, which says that oxygens in compounds have a -2 oxidation state. There are 7 of them, so 7 times a -2 gives us a -14. So what algebraically needs to go in the blank? +12 makes the algebra work. Now here is the tricky part. The +12 belongs to 2 chromium atoms, so each individual chromium is what? I hope you come up with +6. Because remember, in getting the -14, we multiplied by 7. So in bringing the +12 back, we should divide by the subscript to get +6. So please remember, the oxidation state reported is always per atom. Now here is an example of why applying the rules in order is important. Many students like to jump to the idea that oxygen has a -2 oxidation state. But let's double check the rules concerning magnesium. Magnesium belongs to Rule 3, which says that the oxidation number of group 2A metals is always +2. So Rule 3 has a higher priority than Rule 5. So we'll follow the rules in order and put magnesium at +2. Mathematically, what belongs in the blank then is -2, which means each individual oxygen is -1. So perhaps you've heard of hydrogen peroxide. Those are compounds in which the oxygen has a -1 oxidation state. So danger, apply the rules in order or else. Nothing dire, you'll just get a very strange answer. If you jump to the idea that oxygen is -2, then 2 of those will give us -4, which means magnesium is a +4 oxidation state. Does that make sense? Magnesium 4+ when magnesium only has 2 valence electrons? It does not. So here are some questions for you. What is the oxidation state of sulfur in SO3 2-? And please, of course, do not forget that this has to equal the charge on the ion, which is a -2. Here's another question, a little bit more complicated now, because we have 3 different types of atoms in the compound. What is the oxidation state of each carbon in C2H4Br2? So we can set up our math, and this time this will be equal to 0. And I'm certain you can figure out the oxidation states of hydrogen and bromine and what they belong in here. I just remind you that when you go back to get the oxidation state of each carbon, if here you multiply by 2 and here you multiply by 4, then remember, in going backward, you should divide by 2, the subscript on the carbon. So here is an example of how the oxidation state really does range in a compound depending on what the other atoms are. If you look at chlorine in lithium chloride, the chlorine has a -1 oxidation state. If you look at the oxidation state of chlorine in Cl2, it's 0. This next compound is sodium hypochlorite. And we'll go with Rule 3, sodium is +1. Rule 5, oxygen is 2-. And when you work the math, it turns out that chlorine in that compound must be +1. This is the perchlorate ion. We know from Rule 5, oxygen is 2-. The oxidation states have to add up to -1, so here chlorine is +7. So if you look at where chlorine is on the periodic table, the oxidation state can range anywhere from +7 to -1. And that is exactly what you see here. Anywhere from +7 to -1 with different values in between.